This is Defacto Review, where we run down the top events of the previous week and discuss what happens next. Our host, Jargle Defacto, is out this week, but with us tonight here is our guest commentators. Okay. He has been called the Oracle of Mongolia, and his name is synonymous with his business intelligence group, Cover Mongolia. His name is Mokto Badro Bontoy. Hi, Mogi.
Hi, Terry.
She is the head of the International Republicans Institute, which has been a proponent of Mongolian democracy since its early days in 1990 on Chinggis Square. She is Ashley Whalen. Hi, Ashley.
Hi, Terry.
Okay, so let's roll to the video and see what we have to talk about tonight. Parliamentary Task Force submits investment deal for Chaavan Salgo. Coal miner South Gobi ordered to provide free contracting to settle tax dispute. Foreign investment up 70% after 4 years losing streak. Civil Will Green Party chair resigns to join the Democrats. Mongolia's women look for greater representation in parliament. We begin our program with the Chaavan Salgo coal mine. The head of a task force assigned within parliament to construct a new investment deal for the mine has submitted a new proposal. Last year, an investment deal was put on the back burner when Parliament Speaker Enkbold Zandahu blocked the deal at the day investors were in to ink it. Parliamentarian Erdinçemek Lawson has submitted a bill for Parliament to review. Okay, so we're going to begin with you, Mogi. This is an important, a big, expensive mine, but we're also looking at softened market for coal prices, and
Right.
maybe the relevance has degraded a bit. What's your assessment?
Obviously, Chaavan Salgo is by scale a big project for Mongolia, and we've lost a lot of time in putting this mine into work at the peak of the coal market. But even at this time, still, the Chaavan Salgo project is an important project if you can move it forward. But I'm a little skeptical about the timing of this submission.
Okay.
Next week is the last week of this parliament.
Yeah.
And I'm a little skeptical as to if Parliament would have time to deliberate on it. But even so, even if they manage to discuss it and then pass it, this Parliament will not be responsible for moving the project, or actually handling the project. It'll be the task of the next Parliament, next government. So even in the best case scenario, if they pass it this next week, I'm probably guessing that that next Parliament will have some say about this. They will probably not. They'll probably change the investment this Parliament resolution. So all of this is, I think, the timing-wise, I think it's just shows that it's all for the upcoming election. This particular task force was responsible for stopping the previous agreement with the MMC consortium.
Yes.
So I think they want to be looking as if they've stopped it, but they want to look as if they have the solution as well after they've stopped it.
I'm going to hold you up. So I just want our audience to know that last year there was a deal with Mongolia Mining Corporation and two partners, Shenhua and Sumitomo, to work together on both the east and west blocks of the Chaavan Salgo coal mine.
Right. So the timing was they showed that they can stop this project, but they also want to look as if they can move the project forward.
Yeah.
But as I've said, timing-wise, they only have a week, and I don't think they'll have time to even discuss it.
So too small of a window.
Too small, yes.
All right. But you know, there's been very few details we know about
Right.
it.
Exactly as well.
But I know you have some of your inside sources. Have you heard anything that you can share about what might happen, or?
the state says we'll own at minimum 51%, and the reason why 51% is because Chaavan Salgo is one of the strategic deposits as defined in the minerals law. So Chaavan Salgo being a strategic deposit and explored by using state funds, by law, state cannot have to own at least 50, no less than 50%.
Okay.
But in this proposal, it doesn't say who the 49% is going to be. It says that it can be foreign, it can be domestic, but it doesn't really say who that 49% is going to be. And without knowing who is going to invest in this mine, discussing this Chaavan Salgo bill seems useless to me.
Also, moving on to Mongolia's mining industry, a court has ruled that the mining unit owned by Hong Kong-listed South Gobi Sands will settle its 35.5 billion Tugrik tax debt, partly through contracted work to Chaavan Salgo mine. The court has ordered that South Gobi Sands will pay 15 billion this year and then 7.5 billion in 2017. The remainder will be paid via contracted work to Ernest Chaavan Salgo, with a lot of those expenses including salaries, social insurance, workers' accommodation, and technical maintenance. Okay, so this has been a tax dispute going on since 2012, Mogi. I wanted you to give us some insight in how this tax dispute has hurt Mongolia's reputation with the global mining community.
As we know, this South Gobi issue started in 2012 when the Chinese state-owned mining conglomerate Chalco made a bid for South Gobi Resources, which was majority owned by Turquoise Hill, the parent company of Oyu Tolgoi. And to me, all of the last economic troubles we've had is all started when Chalco made that bid in 2012, early 2012. And then because of that, because it was so close to the election, a lot of parliamentarians from both sides, MPP and DP, MPP was a ruling party when this happened, but a lot of them joined together and changed the investment law. And since then, ever since then, foreign investment has gone down, our growth has gone down, and it's all because of the South Gobi issue. And what I'm trying to say is that South Gobi started this economic downturn and then was sort of the symbol of Mongolian fall from grace in the eyes of foreign investors.
It was the first domino to fall.
Right, exactly. And it started a lot of chain reactions. It affected our whole entire investment climate, our investment environment, our laws, because of it that govern in foreign investment. So really, South Gobi case is sort of the picture, the cover picture of how Mongolia made mistakes that led to this economic situation.
Sure. Okay. And now looking at what this court has offered, where there's a large amount of it is contracted work. Do you think this is a fair resolution?
I don't think the government can force South Gobi to do any kind of work.
Sure.
To me, it seems like there was actually there was a cabinet meeting last week, that Monday, that that sort of really came out with this thing where South Gobi Sands is supposed to do some contract work on Chaavan Salgo.
Because negotiations were going on behind the scenes.
Right. Right, and they've said so in the government cabinet meeting memo, and it said that based on negotiations with South Gobi, they've come to this sort of agreement that 15 billion will be paid in cash, and then the rest will be paid off by doing contract work on Chaavan Salgo, or actually Ernest Chaavan Salgo, the state-owned mine. To me, it seems like there were actually talks, and I think there might be some kind of a oral agreement with South Gobi on to do this. I don't think it was just unilateral government decision to do that. I don't think they can force any company to do that. But South Gobi Sands the parent company of South Gobi Sands came out last week and said that there have been no formal notice by the government on how to settle the outstanding tax debt. So it shows that there's no final agreement. But looks like there are actually talks, and I don't think. And South Gobi Sands has, I imagine, has a lot of mining equipment left on their Avot Tolgo mine that are just sitting around. So to me, perhaps it sounds actually could be a good deal for South Gobi as well, because they have a lot of they have the equipment, they have the workforce to actually mine coal mines such as big as Chaavan Salgo.
Okay, great. As Mongolia settles its mining disputes one by one, more cash is coming into the country. Foreign investment was up 70% for the first quarter compared to the same period a year ago. That's 1.3 times more the entirety of 2015. The foreign investment for the first quarter was $166.4 million US dollars. Bolt Sangdadorj, the chief economist for the Bank of Mongolia, said it couldn't really be, you couldn't point to any one project for this change, but instead it was Mongolia's efforts to diversify away from the mining resources and promote import replacement products. So I want to get to Ashley because she's been quiet for a while. So foreign investment, it's a huge part of this economy. What do you think, how much is this on the mind of voters today?
I think this is very much on the mind of voters. When you look at the concerns that voters have about, as they're going into this next election, they're looking at economic issues. They're looking at unemployment. They're looking at inflation. They're looking at foreign loan repayment. These are all economic issues that in part can be addressed through some foreign direct investment, improvement to the economy. So this is really top of mind to voters. When asked what their top issues are, unemployment comes up as the #1 issue.
Yeah.
And I think it's something that's very important as the market picks up and as there are signs of optimism. That's a good thing because Mongolian voters have been very pessimistic. What we found was that the majority were saying that they believed Mongolia was going in the wrong direction.
Really?
Really.
Okay.
61% in fact. And this is a big shift from 2011 when we last asked voters about what direction did they think Mongolia was going in.
Yeah.
And this is a huge increase and not an overwhelmingly good picture as we're entering election season.
So it seems to be centered around that old adage. It's, when it comes to elections, it's the economy, stupid.
It certainly is. James Carville will be quite proud to know that his adage is applicable the whole world over. Including
Mongolia. So I just mentioned that FDI factors pretty heavily into the economy. So can you give us an idea of how that looks?
Up 70% looks good on paper, but it's up 70% from almost zero.
Yeah, it's $166 million.
Right. So you can imagine how much it was in the first quarter last year, almost close to zero. And compared to how many billions we've had in 2011-2012 period, 166 is really nothing. But obviously, it's a good thing that foreign investment has picked up. As I said before, foreign investment drying up is what's the #1 sort of economic factor behind our sort of economic financial troubles. So it's good to see foreign investment that's picking up, and I'm sure it'll pick up further once we've had some of the big projects move forward, specifically Oyu Tolgoi. And foreign investment is the only thing that's going to help our economy. There's nothing else.
I got to cut you off there because we got to move ahead. We got some, little time remaining, so we got 2 more issues to talk about. So controversial decisions regarding the 2016 parliamentary elections continue to create upsets. Dembril Sambo has been dismissed as party chairman of the Civil Will Group Green Party in the aftermath of his party's exclusion from this year's contest. The General Election Commission denied the party from competing when they cited some mistakes or errors or problems with the paperwork. Dembril will run with the Democrats. He's joined the party officially. Okay, I want to start with Ashley again. So the big theme in these past weeks is smaller parties are getting kind of the squeeze for this contest. Can you elaborate on that?
Sure. So what's been going on in terms of the change in the electoral system is a debate over what types of districts you're looking at and how citizens will have representation. So what Mongolia has done is switched from a hybrid system where there was some proportional representation, which was the party list, to a fully majoritarian system. So your vote gets to one parliamentarian.
So it was mixed before.
Exactly. And the choice that has been made is one that I think all countries go through. There is no set formula on how to run a democracy and how to orchestrate electoral districts. But this shift, this late in the game, I think is quite confusing for citizens. It's hard to understand why and how and what the difference is.
Okay. And concluding our evening, we're going to talk about, although parties have complained about the last-minute changes to election rules, the changes are also affecting those concerned about women's representation in government. Mongolia's new election law has reduced the quota from 30% to 20% for the amount of women that will campaign in the election. Mongolia currently has 11 members of parliament, or 14% of all seats. But a lot of Mongolians think that's not enough according to the survey results from the International Republican Institute. This is the second time in 2 parliamentary elections that the quota has actually been reduced. Okay, again with Ashley. Do you think lawmakers are just flat out ignoring what the public's wanting as far as women's representation in government?
So I'm not sure that lawmakers intended to disregard what citizens wanted, but our survey research said that 2/3 of Mongolians want to see political parties support women in a greater way in terms of being candidates and being members of the party.
Okay.
So it's unfortunate that what they have done is reduce the quota at a time where people are saying they want to see more women in government.
Okay. And I understand in Parliament there's a women's caucus. Women banding together, the lawmakers. Can you talk a little bit about what they do?
Sure. So the Women's Caucus, the Mongolian Women's Parliamentary Caucus, what they do is they work together. It's a cross-party caucus. It's voluntary, but all 11 women in Parliament have chosen to join it.
Okay.
And what they do is they use it as a way to discuss issues. They use it as a way to put forth policy ideas, develop laws, and they use it as a way to influence the legislative agenda on behalf of their constituents.
Okay. And now, Mogi, from a market perspective, you know, this is a little bit too inside baseball, perhaps, but I think a lot of businesses like to be here and based here because Mongolia is a democracy, and they can be. It's not a shameful thing to work here. In fact, it's quite a good thing, and you can build up the economy. So, do you think this will have any impact market-wise?
It'll create some confusion, but again, I think foreign investments, by large, except for Oyo Tolgoi, they've been waiting for how the election is going to fare. Historically, every time there's an election, the investment environment, the investment climate changes drastically. We've seen that in 2012 when it was around the peak of our economic growth, where the election campaigning agenda was more about citizens' control, people's control over the big mining projects.
Yeah.
But in 2016, by a lot of the polls and IRI's poll as well, I'm sort of glad that the number one issue is unemployment, or specifically economic issues.
Glad about it.
So, but every time there's a Mongolia goes through an economic downturn, I think we do the sensible decisions.
Yeah.
The last time we had our economic troubles was in 2009 when as everyone will remember, we passed the Oyo Tolgoi investment agreement. And in this economic downturn, we passed the second phase of the Oyo Tolgoi agreement. I think it would have been very hard to do that if our economic growth was high, copper, coal prices were still high.
Yeah.
So in a way, these our mistakes teach us to the right things, and our mistakes is what led to this economic trouble. So in a way, for the long-term future of Mongolia, Mongolia going through some troubles and experiencing those troubles ourselves is what will make Mongolia probably much more stabler country in the future.
Sure.
Short-term problems, yes, but long-term, I think this helps.
Sure. And Ashley, I understand your organization has been working with the parties to help promote women candidates. Can you talk a little bit about that for a minute or two?
Sure. So what IRI has been doing is working with women who are interested in running for office. And as Mogi said, the mistakes that are made contribute to democracy, and it contributes to that give and take in that learning process. And that's, I think, what we've seen a lot of women candidates are interested in doing. They're interested in taking the lessons learned and applying them to how they can govern in the future.
Okay.
So what we do is we work on message development, on how you reach out to citizens. So we do the campaign mechanics. We work with all the political parties, and I'm really encouraged to see that there are so many women who are really energized and engaged and who want to represent citizens.
And what has been the response from some of these participants?
So we've actually had quite a few requests for more work.
Okay, more.
More partnership. Actually training on how to speak to the media, how to craft a message that carries from social media to television to in-person meetings.
Yeah.
You know, and that's really encouraging because that shows a depth of thought about how to serve your constituents and how to get your message out there. And I think that's what Mongolian voters are looking for, are representatives who speak to them and who speak about their issues.
Okay, thank you. I want to thank our guests tonight. You guys have been great, and you've been helping
Thanks,
out when Jargel's out.
Glad to be
Happy
here.
that he's out.
Yeah. Well, I'll be happy when he comes back. All right, so that's our program for the evening. We hope our talks today give you guys a heads up for the week coming. Any last words, guys?
Well, this election, I think, is going to be interesting, and next week is going to be last session of Parliament. I'm hoping that a lot of things will not be changed too much before the election, so we'll see. High hopes for the next Parliament.
High hopes is the words. Okay. All right, I want to thank our audience. Good night, Ulaanbaatar.